I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. So previously, I made a video of a Punch 45 versus Punch 45, the HD versus the non-HD. It didn't really go very well, so the HD really wasn't up to par. So I got those two amps from the same person who assured me that they both worked. I was looking for a 45 and I found these, and as you can see, one's a Series 2 and one's a Series 3. One's a 45 and one's a 45 HD. Anyways, I got these reasonably cheap, and I want to check and see if they actually even work. And in the video, here's what I found out. All right, so we got the HD all hooked up, and I haven't got the remote turn on connected yet. We're gonna see if this thing powers up without any trouble. Whoa. I'm thinking that's not a good sign. Well, I'm seeing some sort of a component here just laying on the board. As you can see as I move this, that's not good. I haven't been able to see where it's coming from. So it's gonna tell me that this thing doesn't work. So, but not all is lost. So with a little bit of help from my buddy David, we tore into this thing, and it was actually a pretty easy fix on this thing. So let's see if we can rescue another one and make my collection of Rockford Fosgate amps complete. So as you know, I have the Punch 45 that we've used in some tests. Here's the HD. And then likewise, I have a Punch 75 here that is absolutely beautiful. Got it from my buddy Nick. A Punch 75 HD that is a completely unopened, still has the seal on the back, which is super cool. Look at that right there. That son of a bitch has not been broken. And I do have another 75 HD that goes up in smoke when you hook it up. So that maybe will be a future video. So anyways, let me go through the process of what I had to do to make the Punch 45 work. So diagnosing the repair was quite easy. When you looked at an undamaged PIM board, you can see here the capacitors that were actually laying inside the amplifier. So it was pretty easy to diagnose it since it powered up, and obviously there was no other problems most likely with the amplifier itself. So the next step was to contact Damon, Crazy Logic's 007 on YouTube. He actually remakes these boards, and they're really affordable. It was like 35 bucks shipped, and it was actually quite an easy repair, and the quality of the thing is really nice. These are a very common failure in these things, so diagnosing this thing really wasn't that big of a stretch. So let's go through what I had to do. Alright, I thought I'd get some of this on video. This is kind of cool. See if I can figure out how to do this with the camera going. So what I'm using here is a Yahuwah standard desoldering station. And I'll tell you what, this thing is awesome for 125 bucks. Well worth it. If you're going to do any repairs, you need to pick one of these things up. Totally made the job so much easier. So what I did was I used the solderer sucker to clean out all the holes, and then I used the hot air station on it and blew hot air on it. And then from the backside, I kind of wiggled this thing and I was able to get it out. And I got it all complete with, except for two pins, I guess probably from working it back and forth, broke off two pins in there.
then I was able to go back with the solder sucker and on those 2 pins, and actually I'm pretty sure it just sucked the pins right into the desoldering gun. And I am really impressed. I mean, all those holes, this isn't the way it goes, but anyways, all those holes just are clean, ready to take the new component, and that's awesome. All right, so I got the input board, the PIM board soldered. Looks good. Came out really well. And I'm gonna say, man, the pins are really lined up well. I think that's why he's using doing these the way that he did, is so they do line up perfectly. Did a great job. So we're gonna hook this thing up, put it back together, see if it works. All right, so we got the Punch 45 on the bench. Got the new PIM board installed, and I got some new toys here. So I got this power supply, and I can kind of limit how much amperage it puts out and voltage on it. So we've got it set at like 2 amps, so we don't smoke anything if there is a problem. So recall that last time we powered this amp up with the faulty PIM board in it, it just made this big weird crazy sound in it. Whoa. So that's a problem. So right now I've got one channel hooked up to a speaker. I've got a tone generator with a 1000 kilohertz. I've got very little power running to this thing, and this is the remote wire. So we're just gonna hit it and see if we generate a tone when this thing kicks on. So we get a tone, so that's gonna tell me that that channel is working, and we're not getting any other noise. So I'm going to switch these wires. If you've never used these Wago connectors for testing stuff, they're pretty awesome. I don't really recommend using them for anything permanent, but I for stuff like this, I think they're a good idea. So, all right, here we go. Let's try the other channel. That's interesting. Not sure why getting that. So that could be a problem. So I'm going to have to investigate. But the good news is this thing's not smoking or doing anything funky. I'm not sure why this thing was chirping. All right, so I figured out what the problem was. So the problem is my tone generator. The tone generator only has audio going out on the right on this channel. So when I switched channels, I was using this RCA, and I don't know what kind of signal this thing was putting out. So now that I swapped the RCAs, this one shouldn't be plugged in. Let's just leave it out. So now we got same signal. So I'm gonna put this thing together, stick it on the bench, and let's try some music through it, see what it does. So one of the things I want to do before I run any music on this thing, so I've got an amp meter hooked up to this thing, and this is the idle current here, and I'm playing around with the biasing. So my good buddy David Stevens told me it's kind of like setting the air fuel mixtures on a carburetor, right? You want to get it just right. So you know, instead of lean dropping it, you're kind of doing in the other direction. He said when you see the voltage or the amperage try to kind of spike up, watch it, and then boom, it goes up quite a bit, right? So then you do the other side. See it jump up. So I'm going to say that we've got the bias on these adjusters. You can see they're pointing about this direction. This straight up would be about halfway. So they're about 3/4 of the way on them. I just wanted to check that before fired this thing up, and we'll put some duty-free music on this thing, give it a shot. So setting the bias is pretty important to do, because if you set it too low, the amp can sound distorted. If you set it too high, it'll actually run way too hot. So getting it just right is perfect. So I was successful in saving another one, and this amp, I tell you what, it sounds amazing. I love it. All these punch amps are just incredible, the sound quality on them. So anyways, I appreciate it. Thanks for watching, and you know what? We'll catch you next time. Go out there and save them. Hey, don't forget to pick up one of our channel stickers and follow us on Facebook. There will be links in the description. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time.